Hello, this is Mish, and welcome to a review of a title called Laser Disco Defenders. So with all these reviews being open and honest, I received this review copy for free, but that will not change how I approach this game and my final opinion on this game. So what is Laser Disco Defenders? Well, it's a single player roguelite game. It has randomly generated levels, customizable characters, and an online leaderboard. So you need to stop and defeat Lord Monotone. So the game is set in a 70s disco themed environment, but it's all in space. So this is developed by Out of Bounds and published by Excalibur Games. The title is coming to Steam on the 7th of October at a price of $9.99 or your regional equivalent. But this is already available on the PlayStation Store for the Vita. So that came out in August for that. So let's just have a quick chat about, the gameplay mechanics and how it all works, and then I'll move on to a summary. So the gameplay, it felt fresh for me. So it's a combination of things going on here. So you're fighting gravity all the time. So as soon as you stop pressing the up arrow, you'll start falling down. The same for left and right. So if you hit left, you're going to start flying left, and then obviously the kind of trajectory will keep you going. So you're always battling that. And also on top of that, aiming is quite difficult. So you need to aim and fighting gravity at the same time. So it's quite hard to get a good shot. As soon as you can land on the ground, but it's often fraught with hazards, so you don't want to. And on top of that, there's a whole lot of obstacles flying around. When you shoot a laser, it never ends. So it hits a wall and bounces back, comes right for you. So there's those obstacles coming. There's enemies flying around. There's, bubbles of goo flying around. There's lots of stuff going on. So it's an interesting synergy between those, mechanics of the gravity, trying to shoot, trying to dodge those obstacles. So it requires a lot of effort and great accuracy as well. So we have customizable characters. So in saying that, we've got 9 pieces of gear and 4 characters. So each character you can choose from 3 different head pieces, 3 different chest pieces, and 3 different feet items. The game resets every time you die. So I've got to level 12, I think. I think that's about half. I think there's 20 levels. But yeah, so every time you die, you go back to the first level. And that's obviously where the roguelite element comes into it. Okay, so let's talk about the graphics, audio, and gameplay, and my thoughts on those components. So let's start graphically, as I always do. So a minimal design here, but definitely stylistic of that kind of 70s design set in space. I thought it looks okay. I don't have a problem with how it looks. I think it's a very deliberate design, but I do get a sense of a mobile game here, and I think that's probably obvious going forward about all these areas. So graphics, audio, and gameplay, it feels very mobile orientated. But yeah, visually I think it looks okay. It's got some cool animations, it's got some cool characters, and I think that's probably the standout thing for me, is the overall 70s aesthetic is quite nice. Okay, let's move on to audio. So audio, whilst perfectly acceptable, I found it to be a bit of a letdown. When a title's called Laser Disco Defenders, I really had this expectation that I'd be, toe tapping and head bopping away to the tracks. But honestly, they're very average. I mean, when I saw the premise for the title, my first thought was, yes, another awesome indie title with a potential amazing soundtrack, which I've had a few recently and have been fantastic. I found myself, listening to the soundtrack after I finished the game. But I think with this one, I don't think it's there. I think the tracks are very repetitive, so you're not getting, a mixture of tracks per zone. Seems to be the same one, and they're quite banal as well. But I mean, as I said, it's perfectly acceptable, but it just doesn't stand out how I think a game with this centric idea of disco should stand out. And let's move on to gameplay. So the game is definitely challenging, and it definitely has an element of skill about it, and it can get quite hectic. You got things flying around, you're trying to keep yourself in the same position, you're trying to shoot things. You do have a couple of power-ups so you can slow down time. You can, I guess, speed up your bullets. You can have this, I guess, extended laser kind of sword for a bit, and another one as well. And there's a health as well, which you can pick up to regenerate your health sometimes. I mean, overall difficulty level of the game, I think, is quite good. I got to level 11 or 12, and I'm getting better as I go on. But yeah, it's definitely not easy, and it is quite repetitive. So if you don't want a game that you're going to be hitting the same few levels at the start over and over again, this probably isn't for you. But yeah, that I guess confluence of the game mechanics of trying to fight the gravity, trying to aim your laser, trying to dodge the enemies, and also the lasers that rebound off all the walls, because you're in an enclosed sphere for the most part. So those lasers that you shoot are going to come back at you at some point. It is interesting, and I thought it was quite fresh and unique for the gameplay. But once again, I kind of got the feeling of this feels like a mobile game to me. And it's come from a mobile platform, so the PS Vita, that's where it's come from 2 months ago. So has this just been, transferred to another platform? I mean, in essence, have they designed this game around that mobile platform, then thinking they could maybe make it work on a PC? That's kind of the feeling I got. I mean, it definitely works, and it works quite well for that gameplay mechanic. It's perfectly acceptable, but I just got the feeling of a mobile game. It feels like they want me to pick up the iPad or whatever device you've got and use, turn it to a certain way to make the character move that way on the gyroscope within the mobile device. That's kind of what it felt like to me. So my final thoughts, and I guess my overall thoughts on the game. So at $9.99, you're going to get a couple hours out of this. I've spent 2 hours in it, and I'm just past halfway. But once again, you die and you reset back to the start. So very repetitive gameplay. So if you're not into that, you probably don't want to look at this title. But the gameplay, the challenging component, and the gameplay mechanics do feel quite fresh to me. They're quite unique. I like the concept of trying to fly around, dodging those obstacles, firing your turret, and just the whole fighting the gravity. It's quite a good little concept there. It synergizes quite nicely together. So if you're after a title that is challenging with a 70s theme, you might want to pick this up. It's okay, but I definitely have some gripes about it. So the music, I was very disappointed with, but once again, it doesn't mean that it's negative music. It's just not how I would expect a game centric around 70s and disco to be. For me, they should have found some really fantastic tracks for this game, then built it around that as opposed to the other way. The repetitive nature, once again, people may not enjoy that. I don't mind it because I'm so stubborn. I can fight through it, but some people obviously don't. And the big question here, does this game belong on a mobile device over a PC? Definitely works on the PC. I don't have a problem with how it functioned, but I just felt like it's designed for a mobile device. And once again, some people, that really irks some people, and I can see why. So if you're the type of person that feels like, that you get annoyed with games that feel like a mobile device, that they belong on a mobile device, maybe skip this one. So I hope this video has been of value to you. I hope you've got enough information out of it to know to purchase or not. And leave us some feedback below if you picked the game up. Leave us some feedback on the video if you liked it or not. And please subscribe for future content from myself. And until next time, this is Mish, and this has been Laser Disco Defenders, and I'll see you around. Cheerio.